Hello everyone, my name is Rocky and thank you so much for joining my channel. If you're new to my channel, this is where I talk about fashion, lifestyle right here in my city of Chicago, and just a little bit of beauty. One of you requested a video. You wanted to know about designer dupes, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about some of the best places to look for dupes and talk about what exactly is a designer dupe. Let's get right into it. First and foremost, when we're talking about designer dupes, there are two categories in which they could fall in. One is the category in which it is a product is inspired by a luxury or designer item. And that means like it takes inspiration. It might take the colorway, the shape, or a few components of that designer or luxury good, but is not an exact replica. Then you have the other category where it's a complete dupe. It's a knockoff or whatever we want to call it, a replica, a knockoff, a bootleg. There's so many names for it, but it's where the manufacturer tries, the attempt is to try to replicate it exactly so that you can fool others into thinking it's the real thing. One category, you're not trying to fool anybody, and you pretty much are purchasing what your dollar can get you in the price range, right? In the price range that you can afford. And the other one is just completely just tricking people, right? Or trying to trick people. And there are different schools of thought, whether either are ethical or moral, but you're talking to somebody who has a very low bar for what's ethical and moral. So let me get right into some of the tips that I have around the best places to go for designer dupes. So the first category I'm going to talk about is the ones that are inspired by luxury and designer items. And I have purchased quite a few, knowingly and not knowingly. I'm not going to go into all of them, but I just picked a few out of my closet. One of the key places that I find that inspiration can be found all the time, you can find inspiration everywhere. If you look at a runway, give it a month or two, every high street and everywhere in between store will have some sort of inspired or duplicated look from the runway. So that's just how fashion works. But anyway, that said, shoes are a really great place to find inspired items. And my first one here I want to share with you is a sneaker that I got here from Vintage Havana. Vintage Havana is strongly inspired by typically Golden Goose and P448. You'll see a lot of their sneakers look like that. This one in particular is inspired by a Valentino shoe that came out several years ago. I can't even remember when at this point. It definitely has the similar style, similar colorway, but it doesn't have every design. It doesn't have rock studs on it, and it's not suede. It is meant to be like reminiscent of that shoe. It is not a complete knockoff. It is not trying to trick anybody into thinking that it's Valentino. It has its own logo imprinted on the shoe and on the tongue, so it's not trying to fool anybody. However, if you just like the look of something and you're not trying to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars for that thing, shoes are a great way to do it. And if you're looking for sneakers, Vintage Havana, which can be found in Nordstrom and Nordstrom Rack and other stores as well, directly through their website, you can get it there. I think it's a great place and a great way to do it. The other shoe that is inspired by another shoe, and I think that it's inspired by that shoe. I don't really know which way it goes, one way or the other, but Badgley Mischka to me looks a lot like Jimmy Choo shoes. And they have their own looks, of course, but when I look at their shoes, they look like they are inspired by Jimmy Choo. And they are the typical wedding shoe and things like that. If you want to look glamorous, this shoe in particular is like what you think you'd find on like Sex and the City, with the stones here on the front. This one happens to be a peep toe, but you'll find this style in Jimmy Choo all the time. Now, Badgley Mischka is not super inexpensive, but is way less expensive than Jimmy Choo. I have another example of a Jimmy Choo shoe another example of a Badgley Mischka shoe that is inspired by Jimmy Choo, and that's this sort of glittery, sparkly pump. Now, this one is not trying to trick you into thinking, so was the other one. It's not trying to trick you into thinking that it's Jimmy Choo, but you can see the style inspiration in this. This one has a different form or a cutout here, but it is definitely a pump that has the pointy toe, that has the glittery look, same glittery color. Badgley Mischka is known for looking a lot like the Jimmy Choo pumps. Another shoe, which you'd be surprised that you can actually get a dupe or a designer dupe or something inspired by, is the brand Charles Jourdan. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this brand, but they do have the red bottoms like Louboutin. And this one I picked up some time ago. This one is a peep toe sling back, has the red sole. As you can see, I've worn this a few times, but it has the red sole. This one actually has the red interior and the red bottom sole, but at a fraction of the price. You can pick these up in many, you can just look it up online where you can pick these up. But again, it's not cheap, but it's also not Louboutin. You know, I don't know what I called them before. I feel like I called it something else, but this is not Christian Louboutin prices at all, but you do get the look. People do get to see your red soles as you walk away. So that's what I'm all about. Like, what is it about the item that I really love, and can I get that somewhere else? So definitely can get the Christian Louboutin type of look if you go to Charles Jourdan. There are some other brands that are notorious for copying the runway looks, and you're probably going to beat me to saying this, and this one is super affordable. It's Steve Madden. If there's any shoe that you want, that you've seen on the runway or seen celebrities wearing, you can 100% find it at Steve Madden. I think Steve Madden prides themselves on duplicating what's on the runway and what's hot in the streets. The other place that you can find replicas are Sam Edelman, notorious for replicas there or duplicates there, and then Schutz. Schutz is another one. Schutz, has a lot of their own style. I'm going to give it to them in that sense, but you will find some that are very well made, but also are duplicates of some designers. So check out all of those brands. You got your Bashley Mishka, your Charles Jourdan, Steve Madden, and your Sam Edelman. Check it all out. The next category is completely knocked off. No mistaking that they were trying to copy something else and trying to fool others that it is the real thing. I'm going to start with the smallest item here, and that is this duplicate of the, what is this? Cartier love ring. And I don't know if that's focused in. Yeah, it is focusing in. This is the Cartier love ring, and I have been pining over this for years. Before I went all in to make the investment, I went everywhere looking for a duplicate, and just to trust that I would actually get the item and whatever. Amazon is an excellent place for duplicates. You kind of might have to you can write in the exact name of what you're looking for, and sometimes it takes you to dupes, or you can just describe what you're looking for and it'll take you to a dupe. This one I found there, and I think it was maybe, it could not have been more than $20, but I feel like it was even like maybe $10 for this ring. It allowed me to test drive it, see if I really loved it, and if it was something that I wanted to invest in. I kept this on my wish list, and then my husband, for our anniversary, I think it is, gifted me the real thing. Not very different. I don't know if you can see them side by side, but not very different. I know that this is the real thing. It's something that I can pass down generation to generation, or whatever I decide to do with this thing. But I know it's worth something, right? But this one, and not to say that it's terrible, I am not opposed to faking it, just faking it. You know how some people say fake it till you make it, just faking it. Because for those of us who work really hard for our money, you know how much effort and time it takes to make $1. Why waste it if you don't have to? If it's just something as superficial as this, and it brings you just as much joy to have this as the real thing, I am not opposed to buying the dupe. But for me, it brought me more joy and to have the real thing. And a lot of these things, right, I do try to test drive them before buying the real thing. Just to see if I love it enough to have the real thing. Some duplicates are known to just fall apart, tarnish, break, whatever the case may be. So the real thing would make more sense. If you really love it and you plan to wear it all the time, get the real thing, right? So let me move on to the next thing. This next item is a duplicate of a Ferragamo belt. And I got this a long time ago. It's still in really good condition, but even after wearing this maybe 3, 4, and I don't know, I'm going to lie. I didn't wear it that many times, but it's not real leather, but it looks exactly like the real thing. It looks exactly like the real thing. It's not real leather from afar. What does it say? It looks good from far, but far from good. And so that's what this is. It looks awesome. It looks amazing. I did have some of these sort of rubber edging or paint or whatever this is along the edges start to peel on me before as I was using the belt. So I was really nervous one time. I was wearing this to a work event, and a lot of my colleagues had the real thing. And I was nervous that I was going to get sniffed out. They were like, yours isn't real. But no one said anything. Maybe they knew and just didn't say anything. But nonetheless, I love this so much. And knowing that this, and this also chipped a few times on me. So I had to paint it with a permanent marker to get the chip marks off. Luckily, this was black and I had a black marker. I love this so much and didn't trust that this would, not fail me in public, that I have since invested in, I think, three Ferragamo belts since then. So I am not like, again, I truly do buy these things to test drive. I'm not lying when I say that. So I've gotten the Cartier ring. I got myself this Ferragamo belt. 3 Ferragamo belts since this one. So I do use it as a test drive, and some things I am still test driving, and I'll show you some of those items. So this first one is, actually I got 2 of them from this brand, but this first one I have been pining over for many, many years. And since I've started loving on this one, the price has gone up significantly. Now I'm really not going to get the real thing. And I don't wear them enough, but it is though Louis Vuitton Wonderland boot. Ranger. Listen, I'll put it up on the screen. I can't remember the name of it. But nonetheless, this was something that if you've been watching me from the beginning of time, you know that I've been talking about this year over year over year. And finally, I decided to get a dupe of this. I got this from DHgate. Now, DHgate is hit or miss. It's a luck of the draw. You have to spend up to the amount that if it turns out to be complete crap, you won't be mad that you lost that money. Happened so that this one was really, really good, a really, really good dupe. I feel comfortable wearing these out in public where people wouldn't sniff me out readily. Like somebody would have to literally be holding my boot with the real thing side by side and looking at very fine details to see the difference. There was only one difference on this shoe that I could find from the real thing, and that was this middle bit here. You see how these, the logo imprint here is the same size of the logo imprint here on the sides. On the real thing, they're miniature little florets and LVs and stuff like this here in the middle. So they're smaller size than the one here. But again, laces cover up most of this. You would not know the difference unless literally you're holding the 2 side by side. It's real leather. This is actually not canvas. This is plastic, but coated canvas looks like plastic from a distance. So you really couldn't tell unless you were holding the shoe that this wasn't real. But this part is leather and this part is leather. This part up here is not leather. And this hasn't tarnished or anything. And I've had these for a few years now. So this was, to me, a really good, it even has like the LV logo here. It has everything that the real shoe has, except for that one bit here. And some of the, like I said, the fabrics or the materials used to make it are not the same. But DHgate, hit or miss. If you're looking for dupes, I would say try DHgate. The next item in the same brand is this Louis Vuitton belt. It has it's hard to see, but it has all of the details that the real thing has. But I purchased this from Amazon. I actually purchased this belt from Amazon. Again, you just type in the name of what you're looking for. And the challenge with purchasing from Amazon, DHgate, is that these things are not always going to be available. Once you find it, you should, if you love it, snap it up, because I'm pretty sure they get cease and desist or something like that, or they make a limited amount. I have no idea what makes these things disappear or go off the websites, but they do after a while. So if you find them and it's something you want, snap it up. But again, don't spend more than you're willing to lose, because you can get it and it can be complete shit. I've only had that happen to me one time, and it wasn't from a website. I bought it off of a person. It was supposedly a bag that had fallen off the truck. I should not have done it, black market stuff. Anyway, I digress. But I did lose my money, and it was more than I was willing to lose. So it hurt my feelings that I had spent some money on some junk. But this is really, really good. Again, from a distance, doesn't look like it's not coated canvas, but it is, it's the same material as this boot, like a plastic, but it looks exactly like the real thing. No difference whatsoever. Stamped and has fake serial numbers, all kinds of stuff going on with this belt. So, no one would smoke you out of your hole, unless, it gets to the point where it's starting to get old, maybe. Again, I haven't worn this enough to know that if it's going to fall apart or not. But if it starts to get old and unravel, maybe that will be your telltale sign. Maybe this tarnishes over time. I've had it for a couple years and nothing has happened. So I don't know. I'm sure there are some things that happens to this that gives you away, but so far it's been good for me. And the last item I'd like to share with you is this Valentino belt. Again, I got it for a fraction of the price, and I went to Amazon again. I feel like I just typed in Valentino belt, and this came up, and it looks exactly like the real thing. I can't say it enough, because I shop on the Magnificent Mile quite a lot. Window shop on the Magnificent Mile quite a bit. And I go into these stores and I touch, I feel, I grab, I take pictures, all the things. I know exactly what these things are supposed to look and feel like. And this, my friends, is exactly like the real thing. And of course, at a fraction of the price. I was literally speechless when I got this, how good this is. Again, I'm not sure if I would buy the real thing, for this one, because I liked it when I got it, and see, this is another trick, right? You go and you buy these things and you think you love it, and then you don't reach for it. You done spent $2,000 on a belt that not 2,000, but $2,000 on something luxury and designer that you thought you were going to love, and you really don't love it, right? And so that's always been my concern. So I bought this and I don't even reach for it. I mean, so it's at a price point where I'm not mad that I'm not reaching for it. But if this were $1,000, I'd be mad at myself, that I've wasted this money trying to find a way to sell it, blah, blah, blah. Same with this Louis Vuitton belt. I don't reach for it that much. So for these, I do not think I will turn around and ever buy the real thing for those, but I was reaching for this and reaching for it so much, like I said, that it was starting to peel, and I still wanted to wear this belt. And so I was nervous that it just wouldn't hold up for me in public. So I went and got 3 of the real things. So anyway, that's that. So that brings us to the end of designer dupes. Again, I've named some brands that you can check out, that you can get things that are inspired by luxury and designer items. And then the places that you can go to look for dupes are DHgate. And oh yeah, I got this from DHgate as well. So like DHgate and Amazon are my top places to go for things that are complete, exact, bootleg, knockoff replicas of designer things. So good luck on your journey. Hopefully that gave you enough information to decide whether you would or would not indulge or where to go. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button, share it with your friends. Bye.